Few people are consistently in the vortex. All of you have been in there often, and all of you recognize that momentary feeling of elation of moving from out to in. In other words, it's always a feeling of rush. It's a feeling of passion. It's a feeling of well-being. It's a feeling of such satisfaction. All of you have done it, but few of you do it deliberately, and almost none of you do it consistently. Most of you are looking around waiting for some condition to spike up to be so rewarding that all you have to do is look at it and, you're in the vortex. That newborn baby puts me right there. Have another one. Jerry's trying to talk his daughter and daughter-in-law into having another baby, and they're not having any of it. Esther says we're going to have to mess with their birth control pills or something because they think they're finished even though we want more. They're trying to call more grandchildren through. Because that newborn baby, that little one freshly here, that one still tuned in, tapped in, turned on, that one who is still willing to color with Jerry. The little ones are still more in alignment with who they really are. The longer you're here, the more you are trained by others to a criteria that does not serve you. And so that's what this gathering is about. We've been calling it the art of allowing for a long time. And it really is the art of awareness, the art of being aware of my emotions, the art of awareness of my two vibrational aspects, the art of allowing, because I'm aware of my two vibrational aspects and because I'm aware of the way I feel, the art of focusing myself into alignment with who I really am and therefore allowing the fullness of who I am to flow through me in this moment. Rather than looking for something externally, whether it's another person, a telephone call, a counselor, a mother, rather than asking some other person or some place to be the reason you go into your vortex, we want you to be the reason you go into your vortex. And we want the reason to be because it feels good and I can. Every good feeling that you have, whether you think it is about the lottery you just won, whether you think it is about the lover you just found, whether you think it is about the thing that you wanted that now you have, every good feeling that you have, no matter what degree of it feels good to you, every good feeling you have is for one reason and one reason only. You lined up with you just now. And this vortex has already assembled all of the cooperative components of everything that you've asked for. So spinning there in this vibrational reality is a full version of everything you want. All the money, all the bodily conditions, all the feelings in relationships that you want, all of the material objects, everything is queued up vibrationally. And don't scoff at that, because everything that is manifested, including your earth spinning in its orbit, spun in a vibrational reality first. The difference is, once you are here on this earth, putting things into your vortex, the amount of time that it takes in your physical earth terms between not showing up in your experience and showing up in your experience is no time. When you become a match to the vibrational vortex and all of those cooperative components that have been assembled, when you become a vibrational match to that, it is instantaneous. In the moment that you stop the resistance, the trail lights up. Now, we want you to understand that as creators, the lighted up trail is what you're looking for. You really don't want the instant manifestation. Can you imagine the absence of satisfaction that a sculptor would have if in the moment he touched the clay, it just became the statue? There's a clump, there's a clump, there's a clump, there's a clump, there's a clump. He wants to mold it. He wants to let it evolve. He wants to discover it. He wants to be part of it. And so do you. So when you get into the vortex, we're not saying that you will have an instant manifestation of what you want, although sometimes it seems that fast to you in relative terms. What we are saying is, when you get into the vortex, the trail lights up, your feeling of empowerment ensues, and the details begin to unfold as you follow the path and let your creative mind take you blissfully on the path of becoming that you've set into motion even before you stepped foot into this physical body. Creating is so delicious, and it's what we all are. And you came into these bodies intending to sift through the contrast in order to discover more desire. Sometimes as physical beings, you think you're here to struggle your way to success, and we say that cannot be. You can struggle your way into asking. You can suffer your way into knowing that you don't want that and that you want something else. And it's an interesting thing, because when you know what you don't want, an equivalent, equal, counter desire is always born. So this vortex of creation that you have put into motion is filled with the culmination of what life has caused you to create in your asking as you sifted through contrast. Ooh, wasn't that beautifully said? This vortex is full of the vibrational equivalent of the asking that your physical experience has inspired through the sifting of the contrast that you have discovered along your way. You've created a vibrational reality that you hold ownership to, that stands in readiness for you, that waits for you eternally. We think you should get it now, however. We don't think that you should wait anymore. We think it's time for you to get into the vortex and begin to reap the reward, to find the answers, to solve the problems, to feel the exhilaration, to be the being who you have created. We think it's time. And otherwise you can do it when you croak. It's your call. We are eager to talk with you about anything that is important to you. It is our desire to coax you into the vortex. We know that you're having some step one moments, and we applaud every one of those, because if you weren't sifting through contrast, you wouldn't be asking, and if you weren't asking, we all wouldn't be expanding. So we never want you to think that we want you to get into the vortex and stay there only. We just want you to make the vortex your primary goal. We just want you to make your vortex your main event. We just want you to make not being in the vortex the anomaly that it was meant to be, not the career that so many of you have made it into. In other words, you did not plan to make step one your life's work. If you watch television or listen to those, it is so interesting how people are so drawn to catastrophes, to the problems of life. And we say, you didn't plan on spending so much time on that part of physical experience. It doesn't matter. It's not slowing things down. All you're doing is putting more into the vortex. And then those who get into the vortex are having richer, fuller experiences. But this is the time of awakening. This is a time when more will be inspired by you and those like you to discover their vortex. This is a time of awakening to the power and passion and love and good feeling life that you all deserve. Once you find this wavelength, whether you find it on your own, whether you find it through meditation, whether you find it by reading one of the books that is full of the energy of Abraham, whether you listen to a recording that is the vibration of Abraham, you, just through listening, can train yourself right into the vibrational frequency of that which we are. Which means anytime you are asking and in a place of non-resistance, you can receive the vibration of that which is us. The earlier clarification, right, both yesterday and today, and as often as it comes up, is that this relationship that you are having here is Abraham as being translated by Esther. And there is a difference of Abraham being translated by Esther as Abraham being translated by anyone else. And in fact, the name Abraham implies the combining of that which is Esther and this energy that she has named Abraham. In other words, she found that label. Right. As we visit with you, we don't whisper words in her ear that she repeats. We offer blocks of thought that she translates. And so there is a projection of energy, and there's a receiving and translating of the energy, and that's what equals Abraham. So we're really splitting hairs here in the sense that we are not in any way trying to hold Esther apart as the only translator of non-physical energy. In fact, the opposite is true. Every one of you are an extension of Source, and every one of you has your own inner being, and every one of you, when you get into your vortex, have full access to what your inner being knows. That's what you call channeling is. Esther has not ever enjoyed the word because it means so many things that she is not doing, and people are not sure what it means, and in some circles it has a sort of negative connotation. But what this alignment or connection or experience really is Esther having trained herself even before she was receiving us into the vortex and into the frequency that is us, so that as we began projecting through her inner being, since she was in concert with her inner being, she received the full understanding of all of that and is very good at articulating it, and was particularly good at it because she was not steeped in a lot of attitudes and opinions and rituals that she would then have to try to interpret this new knowledge through. The knowledge could come purely. So she actually found new combinations of words that actually put you in new places of understanding new meanings, you see. So, having said that, all of you, when you're in the vortex, have access to all of that. The greatest advantage that Esther, Abraham, the combination of Esther and Abraham offer to any of you is that she has put herself in the receiving mode. So, you're doing the asking and we're doing the answering, and Esther is doing the receiving, and here it is all working out very nicely together. Where when you are on your own having the experience, you might discover that the vibration of your question and the vibration of our answer are not the same vibration, because in the question or in the problem is always a different vibration than in the answer or in the solution. Everyone has access to infinite intelligence. Everyone is an extension of this source energy. Esther, as she expresses for Abraham, is an example of that connection, but she is not the example of the precise stream that you will connect with. Everyone's stream is uniquely theirs. In other words, you have literally created before your birth and since being in this physical body, this vortex of creation. In other words, the assembling of all cooperative components. The cooperative components for Esther is different than the cooperative components for you or anyone else, you see. Jerry was talking about this at dinner last night with friends, is that when you are inside the vortex, and you are full of desire to know something, and inside the vortex, meaning no resistance, that's when that passageway opens and the clarity comes forth. But when you are outside the vortex, wanting those answers, a whole different experience takes place. And there are a lot of people who ask the question that you are asking. You are not one of them. But there are a lot of people who ask that question from outside the vortex. So they try to make it happen. And when people try to make it happen rather than allow it, when they try to motivate it rather than let it be inspired, often what they begin channeling is something from outside the vortex. So they attract some very controlling energy or someone who really wants to boss them around. They have other agendas that they're wanting to satisfy through that. And so as a result of that, we are always qualifying carefully as we express that. Yes, of course, you all have access to that, but you're wanting to tune into the vibration before you begin it. You get the sense of it? There was a woman not long ago who claimed, and we use the word claimed because it was completely bogus, to be receiving Abraham directly. And when Esther heard it, it was so upsetting to her because it was so jerky and awkward and bulky, and every pet phrase that we'd ever discovered, she put in every sentence that she offered. And Esther said, "Abraham, what's going on?" And we said, "She's channeling your website." Which is a whole other thing. In other words, it's a whole other thing. Right. When you tune in to the source that is available to you, you don't need the same phrases. You don't look for the same terminology. You're tuned in, and through your process, you express it in your unique way, which is what all of you have intended to do, you see. Everyone has access to music, and you all express it in your unique way. Everyone has access to artistic ability, and you express it in your own way. And everyone has access to infinite intelligence, and you express it in your own way. So we eagerly and openly answer this question whenever it comes and say to you unequivocally, you have access to infinite intelligence, and you have every bit as much right and ability to translate it as Esther does.